All in favor? All right.
Okay, that was the last item under new business. The next on the agenda would be the good of the order.
Okay. And we have Paul and Mark Morons here. So Paul, do you want to go ahead with your good of the order?
Whatever order?
Yeah, so the good of the order where owners bring up issues.
Okay, yeah, I've got a couple of things here. One is this ongoing pursuit of trying to collect a fine from us for $4,300. And we need to ask you guys to remove that and comply with our governing documents of the association, which no one has done to date. There's no fine due. There's no violations of our declaration or our bylaws on our part, but there's definitely violations of our bylaws and declarations on the part of the board, and particularly Mrs. Goodman, who's retaliating against us because I've been investigating the special assessment, which is a really troubling set of actions on the part of the board, in particular Ms. Goodman and two vendors. So that needs to be brought forward, but it's nothing more than retaliation. For that, you can't not fine a homeowner $4,000 if you didn't follow the declaration, which requires you take certain steps, right, Mary? Maggie? Maggie, could you tell us if you followed all the steps in our declaration with respect to the fines that you are alleging are due from us?
The association has been following the direction of the association's attorney in regards to any open violations, fines.
So, I'm asking the process, back whenever that was, last year, did you follow the declaration to a T, which requires that someone in the building make a report to a board member or to the property manager, at which time they provide a report and they sign it, okay? And then the board can write a letter to the person who is accused of the violation. That's the procedure.
So we were...
If let me finish, please. I've been listening for a long time. If that doesn't clear up the issue, then there needs to be a second person in the building who reports to the association board or to the property manager, at which time a hearing will be held to determine if there's a violation or not. That second report must be signed by the person who's lodging the complaint, and then the process would be a hearing or a meeting to discuss whatever the issue is. That was not even close to being followed. You picked some random association document declaration and used that to try and intimidate me in particular, into not investigating the special assessment, which is so rife with fraud that it's hard to even understand why you folks are not highly concerned about it. You know, you did not bid the work for close to $400,000. You did not get competitive bids. Ms. Goodman simply went to a friend of a friend and signed a 2-page proposal for nearly $400,000 of our money. That is unheard of in a condo association setting. You do not sign 2-page proposals from a friend of Michael Rukowski. You just don't do it. It is clearly, and I'm 100% certain that a special assessment is more than 3 times the amount of the work that this contractor from Waukegan who is purported to be doing. That man received almost $100,000 last June on a 2-page proposal that has no protection whatsoever for the association. No lien waivers required. The man's been running around with our $100,000, and God only knows who's distributed it to, part of it, but I'm certain that it's not all on the up and up, because these kinds of things just don't happen in associations. Associations are careful with our money. Each and every one of you is in breach of your fiduciary responsibility if you approved that 2-page proposal with no protection whatsoever and no competitive bidding to make sure that we got the best price possible. And as we go through those improvements, and I'm going through them with elevator professionals, those improvements are not even, the equipment that he had to order is not worth much at all. There's not much in the way of improvements happening with those 2 elevators. And it will be cosmetic in nature, but you would be hard pressed to spend $400,000 on 2 service elevators. I've spent 23 years of my life developing property around the globe. I've redeveloped buildings, I've developed buildings. The number is preposterous. So I'd like to know from the board where the rest of the money is going, because, and I'd like to know why that was not competitively bid. So just to kind of wrap back, the fine is nothing more than retaliation because you did not follow any procedures we have. And secondly, there's no fine to be had because we installed tile in our bathroom that does not require a permit. And in fact, even if we had done major construction in our unit, our bylaws, actually our declaration states that we don't need to get approvals from anyone. That's what it states clearly. It says if you want to go ahead and do improvements to your unit, go ahead and do it. If you happen to cause any damage to anybody, you're responsible for it, which is the case anyway, even if you did get approval from the board. So you have a choice in this building. Either you can get approval from the board for what you're doing, or you can just completely go ahead and do it on your own. That's what it states clearly in our declaration. So this whole thing, for the first 4 months, because you didn't read the declaration, you had no idea what you're talking about. Maggie, you need to pick that up once in a while and make sure you're complying with it. The first order of a property management or community manager is to implement the governing documents of an association. That is your role. That's your first and foremost your job, is to implement the governing documents. And you have strayed so far from it that it makes no sense. Do you not agree with that, Maggie?
I think that you are providing interpretations.
Can I just, sorry.
No, it's in black and white. It's in black and white.
So now.
I've walked these through these several times.
Yes, so we let you speak, so may I speak now?
You may.
Okay, so number one, in terms of the violation, it was not related to putting tile into your unit. It was related to the plastic piping that was used to replace metal piping, which is a violation of city code and a hazard to the building.
And that's not, and the board has nothing to do with that. That's our issue. Okay, first of all, that's not what you stated. You stated clearly, yeah, but let me, because you don't tell the truth very often. What that violation started off with, Mary, was that we were doing major construction in our home without permits, without insurance, all these other things. That's not the case. Why was that the focus for the first 3 or 4 months? Was it not?
That was the focus because there was a flood that occurred below you.
That has nothing to do with it.
Are you?
Yeah, but you're gonna change your answer to comply with. I mean, you're gonna try to take this off topic. Where's the first 3 months based on a violation stating that we were doing major reconstruction in our unit?
Yes, it was the failure to have plumbing done by a certified plumber with a certificate of insurance.
That's not what it said.
Okay. So to your second point, and I know that David Sugar has signed communications to this effect. Alleging the things that you allege about this board is defamatory and illegal unless you can provide evidence of it. You referenced that the elevator company is a friend of a friend. I have that, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. So the statements that you're making are defamatory, and I would just caution you that that is not legal. So with respect to the fine and the violation, again, we have been in communication with the attorney, and he provided you with a response to your concerns. And to the extent you have additional concerns, I would invite you to send those to the management company or to the board in writing, and we will work with the attorney to respond to your concerns.
Okay, so I guess the basic questions here are, I guess I'd like an answer from the board. Why did you not competitively bid nearly $400,000 worth of work on the backs of everyone that lives in this building has to make that payment every month or once? It's unconscionable. Why did you not competitively bid that work?
As the response that David Sugar sent, it described the diligence that we underwent to get the elevator bids.
But why didn't you get bids? You didn't get a single bid. You have consultants telling you what it might cost, but those are consultants. They don't do contractor work. You did not get a single bid from anyone. You simply took a 2-page proposal from some guy up in Waukegan, and we're paying for it, and we're got a bank loan on it now. We have to pay interest on fraud.
Again, there's no evidence of fraud. I would caution you against alleging that.
There's no defamation if it's true. You don't there's no defamation if it's true. There's the cost of the work you never investigated. You're in breach of your fiduciary duty, period. Because you did not use good business judgment, which is required under Illinois law. No business manager would have made the decision that this board did to simply sign off on a 2-page proposal and wire the guy the next morning $91,000 of our money last June. So you can buy some cheap parts from China. Nothing's adding up.
Okay. we have addressed your questions. I've answered them to the best of my ability during this meeting. David Sugar has responded to your concerns.
I'm just asking why you didn't bid it competitively, which every other condo station is in the world.
David Sugar explained
It didn't
the
come
process
close.
that we used.
It didn't come close. There's not a single bid, is that
And
correct?
I would encourage you to follow up with David Sugar.
Is there a
with your
single bid from
additional
a contractor on that work?
We received a bid to replace the elevators for $1.4
That's not what a bidding
million.
process is, though. I'm talking about you set a criteria and you send it out to multiple bidders. I mean, the FBI is pretty clear on how this works. Okay, there's many boards have made the wrong decision and gotten caught up with the FBI. So it's pretty clear. There's a lot of case law on it.
Okay, so we have, if you have additional concerns or questions, I would encourage you to reach out to David Sugar, the association's attorney, who will be helping us with these cases.
Who also let you write his letter for him, which was hilarious. Yes, I can tell.
What's the second one, Paul?
Well, the second one is why it's just the fine and and we need to get to the bottom of this special assessment, because I think it's unconscionable to ask people to pay this money that's not necessarily going to pay for elevators. So where is it going is the question. The elevators, 2 elevators upgraded to the extent that they're looking at is $125,000 max.
Is this the same topic or is this different?
Just to talk about the fine, you need to cease and desist with this harassment and intimidation with this fine. There's no one in the building who's ever been subjected to the kind of harassment we have been, sending corrupt inspectors to our home to pound on the door at all hours of the day. This is just ridiculous.
How many times did the inspector come? Because my understanding was that the inspector came once.
How would you know? How do you know when the inspector came?
Because you said that the inspector came once. And
I just said he came twice.
Okay, so the inspector came twice?
How do you know about all these things with the inspector, by the way?
Because of what you have said.
No.
In your communications.
Who's David Nyan, by the way?
I don't know.
This is what you put in the letter. Some guy named Nyan?
The inspector.
It's not the inspector I know of.
Okay.
But it seems like you know a lot about this inspector, which means that you're involved in some way. I can prove it.
Okay.
I don't think that's true, but I guess
How did an inspector show up at our house then? It takes 45 days to get an inspector.
Because we requested that an inspector come because.
Who's we?
The board.
The board made it, all of you guys made a phone call to the city? Who did? Who did? No, I want to know. Wait, I want to know. Who?
Hey, Paul,
who-
let's bottom line this. So we're talking about.
Who made a phone call to the inspector? I want to know. Because this is corruption.
I'm not sure it's.
It's corruption.
A little strong of a word, I would think, but let's.
Have you looked into this inspector that they sent to my house?
Do I know him?
No, Google his name. He's so corrupt. It's not even funny. People have reported him for many things.
Report him to the city if you think that he's corrupt.
I've never met the man. He hasn't done anything.
That's what David Sugar said you should do.
Why did he put a sticker on our door that said invalid, no permit construction work? He's never been in our home.
We have the photos from Ashland Plumbing of the plastic pipe that was.
That's not what it said. That's not what it said. So,
Well, that was the violation that sticker was referring to, I assume.
then why did he come to my home if he knew
Because
it?
he wanted to.
How did you
see
get those
the
photos?
Plastic piping.
Who sent him the photos?
We didn't give him the photos.
But how did he say he saw the photos?
I didn't say that he saw the photos. I think it's a suspected violation.
No, it didn't say that. It said violation. So there's something strange going on here, and I know where it's coming from. I know who's in charge of it, and it needs to stop immediately because there's a whole bunch of bad stuff coming.
I think we need to move on to Mark. Mark, you have some concerns you wanted to air before the board?
Well, it was just, number one, I thought it's appropriate that I come to a meeting from time to time.
We appreciate it.
And I just wanted to, as long as I have come to the meeting, to keep on the agenda at some appropriate time to address the repair and painting of, well, not repair, but painting of the windows at some point before it becomes
Yes,
a bigger
thank you.
problem. And we've talked about that, you know. And, that's
Maggie, can you remind me, I know that we had talked about that, maybe not at the last meeting, but the one before, about getting, we had done, I think we had done one window with but that wasn't the painting. So I think we were gonna look at painting